What up, what up, what up? We're back with another UFC post-fight reaction, analysis, breakdown. I'm accompanied by no other than the legend himself, the Dominican bad man, Serge, aka the floor price guy. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, brother. Good night of fights. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I think we both hit a decent percentage for our fights. We had a loaded card, 14 fights in total. It was a good card. A lot of great fights, a lot of great finishes. We'll get into that. Starting from the bottom up. Kicking off our card here, we had the Belgian Balaji Oki, who was a favorite at a minus 155 against the Scotted Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan won via submission the first round. I said from the beginning that Pelagioki did show signs of vulnerability on the ground. He was new to the wrestling. He wasn't as polished. His striking was okay. I'm not a big fan of his striking, but sure enough, Chris Duncan, training out of American Top Team, proved that he studied the fight. He studied the fighter he was going up against, and he had a perfect game plan. What did you think, Floor Press guy? I know you went for Oki on this fight.
Yeah, well, and listen to my kind of thoughts and analysis, right? You got Oki. Oki landed 29 shots out of 51. You got Duncan landing 12 shots out of 29. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because it finished in the first round in the beginning, champ, right away. I think there was a clinch, and Duncan right away immediately went for that kind of guillotine. It was interesting. You're like, okay, well, that's weird. Didn't take him down. But then, Oki's having success on the feet. And all of a sudden, champ, it's like you're right. But Oki takes Duncan down, catches him in a guillotine, and he submitted him. But champ, he went to sleep. It was Duncan that had to tell the ref, dog, this guy's sleeping. So shout out to you, champ. You were right. Not how you expected to be right. I think after this, Oki, needs to polish his skills, polish his defense, and how to react to a guillotine, champ.
Yeah, his defense, his takedown defense, his submission defense, and we'll see where he goes from there. Hopefully, he learns from this, right?
I hope so too, champ.
Before we get into our next fight, I just want to remind anybody to hit the like and subscribe button, comment below, tell us what you think, tell us if we're wrong, tell us if you agree, show some love, show some support. We also have a X account where we post about breakdowns between fights, why we chose a specific fighter. We released an article on Moicano and Denis, so make sure you check that out. Follow us, show some love. Don't be stingy. Next up, we have a women's bantamweight bout. Nora Cornell coming in at a plus 170 against Jacqueline Cavalcanti on short notice was the favorite at a minus 205. Now, one of the things we said in our pre-fight analysis was that Cavalcanti is the precise striker. She's the better striker. She could fight moving backwards. She could fight moving around the opponent, and she proved that. She pieced up her opponent, and she gutted out a win via decision. And one of the bets that we suggested was for this to go to the decision, right? And I think we both chose
No.
Cavalcanti to pull this one out. I did have questions regarding, taking the fight on short notice. Like, what's her cardio going to look like? What's the preparation going to be? But she looked good. She looked good. What did you think, Floor Press guy?
Well, champ, listen, this went to a split decision. Let's be very honest here. So there was one judge that gave it to her, and I gotta say, off the bat, Nora came in. It was a little bit shaky for Cavalcante, champ. Um, she landed a takedown, dominated her on the ground. It was interesting, right? You didn't know because this is also a rematch. Second round comes in, and Jacqueline just figured it out, right? And also, Jacqueline was the one that landed the more significant strikes. Like if you look at the strikes, you're going to see that Nora had 80 strikes out of 156, but
Mm-hmm.
Jacqueline had 87 out of 194, champ. And a lot of times, like it was split decision, champ. But the reality is, Cavalcante landed the bigger blows in round number two and round number three, so they were a bit more impactful. So I got to give it to Cavalcante. She did great. She managed addition. Is she ready for Jermaine, which is the former champion? I don't know. I would take another fight, get a little bit, try to get a little bit more better, more polished on that takedown defense, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they give her next, and she's continuing that win streak. Let's see what happens. Next up, we had a flyweight bout, and we were both on opposing ends here. We had Daniel Barres, who was the underdog at plus 110 against Victor Altamirano at a minus 130. Barres did got out the win via unanimous decision. One of the things you talked about in our pre-fight analysis that really was proven here was Daniel's, boxing, right? You had mentioned the Spaniards. Shout out to the current champ, right? Their boxing and
Mhm.
how they prioritize that. What did you think of his striking in the fight in general?
I
Were you
think it was great.
surprised?
Um, you know what, Victor Altamirano performed great, I have to say. I think he readjusted after the second round. You got the first round, Daniel knocked him down very,
Hmm.
I think in the first 2 minutes,
Hmm.
and it kind of set the tone for the fight. And then I think Daniel also knocked him down in the third round. It did get to a point where it got a little bit scary, and they both landed the same amount of strikes, 78 each one.
Hmm.
Victor actually had the higher output, champ. He actually had a higher output, and he did win the third round. So, but it was just the knockdowns, champ. The knockdowns determined. It was the boxing. Shout out to Daniel. Who he fights next? I mean, that division needs. There's a lot of flyweights, champ, but give him a boxer. Let's have something. Let's have an entertaining fight, champ.
Most definitely, no doubt. It's crazy because I expected Altamirano to go into this fight and attempt more takedowns. For the full fight, he only had one takedown attempt and he wasn't successful. So it's interesting to see that. I wonder what the game plan was for him.
He did win the third round. Well, it's not no, he did not win the third round, but he landed more strikes, but it's not about strike. It's about significant strikes at the end of
Yeah.
the day, right? And
Hmm.
he did good, champ. A lot of people had Altamirano winning, but Daniel edged them out, and on to the next.
On to the next. Next up, we had a women's bantamweight bout. I know you're a longtime subscriber of Aileen Perez's OnlyFans. We talked about that in our pre-fight analysis. Uh, Versus, she went up against Daria Zelenzinakova. You know, Aileen Perez was the heavy favorite at a minus 230. She did pull out a submission win via the first round and twerked in her face. I mean, you talk about the disrespect. She twerked in her face and she followed her as she got up. And then after the fight, if you were following on Twitter, her and what's this girl's name? I had on tip of my tongue. What's the girl's name? Tracy Cortez.
Tracy.
Were going back and forth. Tracy Cortez was, jabbing at her, saying, "Hey, you can't make weight. Hopefully, your OnlyFans earnings could pay that percentage that you're losing." And after the fight, Aileen handled business and said, "Hey, I'll make weight just for you. Let's run it. Let's run it." So a lot of stuff happening there, a lot of moving pieces. What did you think of this fight? I mean, are you surprised we both picked Aileen to win, and she did?
And you know what, champ? We were speaking about it. She took her down. She dominated her. It got a little bit scary in the well. First and foremost, the weigh-in was a little bit scary.
Mm-hmm.
A Lynn didn't. We didn't know what to expect. The odds didn't drop that down. She was a little bit shaky on the try to
The
make
scale.
weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to be very fair with her, champ, it was point 0.5. She if she would have cut the point 0.5, she would have made weight. Right? It's always 1 pound over, but she didn't make weight, got penalized 20% of her purse. Shout out to OnlyFans. She's gonna be okay after this win, and she's gonna make it all back, champ. I'll be honest with you. As a you say that I'm a subscriber, I'm not gonna enter into that. But I'll say this, champ. It got rocky. Daria did take Perez down, and I'm like, oh, is it this one of these matches where you know we're just kind of mind blown and got back up, and then sorry, not Tracy, Perez landed two, imposed her will. Perez looked like the bigger fighter, champ. I'm not gonna lie to you. That point
Mm-hmm.
0.5, like she must be cutting a little bit of weight to get to that division, but she just took her out submission, and like you said, did her what do you call it?
Iconic twerk.
Iconic twerk, and a lot of people get mad. A lot of people were, oh, this is disgusting. Well, there's a fighter now that used to be in Bellator, Valerie, and
Mm-hmm.
Valerie used to do the same thing, twerking, right? And with Perez takes things very personal with her opponent's champ. So shout out to her. She got the W. Who does she fight next? Ooh, I would want to see her make weight more than who would she fight next. So let's
Mm-hmm.
let's make sure that next fight prior to the weigh-in, she has her weight under control, and we go from there.
You don't think Dana and the UFC are licking their lips, salivating at the thought of two Latinas going at it?
that could be a main event for a fight night,
For
champ.
fight night, potentially.
But the
Yeah, I'm
issue
not
is
mad at
that,
it.
and if I'm not mistaken, Rose, what do you call it? Tracy fought Rose at flyweight, and Perez is a bantamweight fighter, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or are they
Hmm.
both? Yeah, yeah. So they're, but that's the thing about it. Like, so, I don't think Perez is going to cut down. I think Tracy would have to come back up.
Hmm.
As money, my kind of says, show me the money. Show him the money. Get him on a fight night. Get him. There's a lot of bad blood there. It'll be very entertaining.
It'd be an interesting fight. Let's see what happens in the future. Next up here, we have a bantamweight bout. Taylor Lapilus versus Vince Morales. Lapilus came in at a minus 340, as where Vince Morales came in at a plus 270, a heavy underdog. Lapilus gutted out the decision win via unanimously. We both picked Lapilus. I had said in our pre-fight analysis, I'm not lying, that I didn't know much about this guy. I merely went for him because he was a young fighter. He was the home crowd advantage, and he pulled out a win. What did you think of this fight? What did you think of his performance? They added this fight late notice too.
Well, yeah, and Vince is his second time or third time in the UFC. Vince
Mhm.
is a UFC vet, you can call him. What were the odds, champ? Could you get me the odds? It was a minus 325. I'm not mistaken. You
Minus
said
340, I said.
340, right? So the issue with this fight is, I mean, I don't. It wasn't a 3-1 favorite or 4-1 favorite going into this fight. Like,
Mhm.
Morales did a great job in a lot of different things. Now, Lapala's gutted out the decision. Used his striking. Shout out to him. 94 strikes. Sorry, 99 strikes. 94 total. But the one thing, it should have been a little bit more dominant. When you're going to when you're a 3-1 favorite, like, you should
Mhm.
putting a little bit more of a dominant performance. But Vince was able to take him down twice. There were some scary moments. So shout out to Vince. I think, give Vince another shot at, another what do you call it, contender in the UFC. Um, Taylor, I don't know where he goes from here. I don't think he's ready for a top 15 fighter. I think, give him a top 30, top 25, 20, have him kind of, get in there. But it was a good win. He got it out there. But like I said, champ, it looked a bit scary when Vince would, you get those takedowns and you start threatening with those submissions. It was a good fight overall.
Yeah, but also this fight was added late as well, so we don't know how much time they had prior
Hmm.
to prepare for this fight, right? So had they been given a full training camp, right, the fight could have been a lot different. So we don't know the stuff behind the
You're
scenes.
right.
Up next, our lightweight bout, Ludovic Klein at a -1,000, -1,000, heavy favorite, gutted out a unanimous decision win against Roosevelt Roberts, who was a +650. What did you think of the fight floor press? I mean, I'm looking at the stats here. Ludwig Klein hit 95 of almost nearly 50% of his 95 thrown significant strikes. He took them down, I believe. Look at this here. Oops, wrong one.
Yeah, he took him down 2 out of 3 times.
He took him two out
Uh,
of three times, whereas he defended the takedown against Roosevelt three times. It was just a dominant performance on Klein's part. We had mentioned in our pre-fight analysis that he's the far better fighter, and it was going to show. What did you think?
I mean, champ, I think one of the issues that didn't really make us appreciate Klein that much was the -1,000. Like, we got to, let's take a second to think about when Canelo fights the typical guy. Canelo's -2,000, right? It's full domination.
Yeah.
Um, but Klein was a -1,000, so I think that put extra expectations on him. Roosevelt is no joke. Roosevelt had the size, had the reach advantage. I like Roosevelt, Roberts. But yeah, Klein did good. I was a little bit upset, champ. I thought, Klein should have dominated a little bit more. But like I said, I don't know how much was that thinking about the odds. I
Mhm.
didn't have a chance to look at the live odds, but I assume they would drop just based. There were certain things happening. Roosevelt did kind of halt him in a lot of different things. Klein did ended up getting the decision. I mean, the reality is he ended up striking two times what Roberts did, so he was active. Um, yeah, I mean, and he has a winning streak, if I'm not mistaken. So great, great. If you parlayed this, you did great. I don't think nobody should take this on a single bet. However,
Yeah,
I do
stay away.
know, yeah, I do know, champ. A lot of people were putting money on the KO or on the submission on Klein, but it didn't happen. He went to the decision, got it done. Looking forward to seeing his next fight.
Co-maining our prelims, we had a light heavyweight bout. Umar Sai, who was coming in at a -575, got a unanimous decision win over the South Korean Da Woon Jung via unanimous decision. We had both chosen Sai to win this fight. I mean, if you look at the fight, he shot for 7 takedowns. He only got 2 of them. You know, he was going to be the pick all along. What did you think of his performance? You think there was any vulnerabilities or anything you would want to see him improve on?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sai did great. Sai dominated an opponent of Do Won Jung, basically almost close to 3 times the significant strikes. 2 takedown defenses. It got interesting because in the first round he started playing a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
he didn't really. He almost got into a bad situation in the first round just because he was playing a little bit. But then he kind of came back. He kind of showed glimpses. He looked a bit tired, but then picked it up. It was very interesting, champ, and Sai took it. I'm gonna say, what do you give the kid? Give the kid a top 15. Give him a ranked opponent. I think top 15, top 14. See how he deals with it. I mean, he's also French. This is great for France. Bring him back to France. Build him up over there. I think has great potential.
Ending our prelim card, we have a light heavyweight bout. Ion Cutelaba gutting out a split decision win against Ivan Erslan, who was making his UFC debut. Now, Cutelaba was a +100 favorite against the -120 underdog. I had chosen Erslan. I thought his striking was better. Eon, it kind of relies on his strength to get out these victories, and he does absorb a lot of hits. But how did you see the fight? How did you score it? Do you think it was fair? Did he actually deserve to win the fight, or what did you think?
Well, I mean, listen, this is the most calm and the most kind of the best Ion Cutelaba we've seen in the UFC. I mean, champ, it was great. And here's the thing about it, right? The first round, it looked a little bit close, but Ion squeaked it. But then, champ, he was having great rounds, like takedown defenses, control, striking, putting his opponent down. I think Ivan Erslan was shocked of how much composed this guy was, right? Because we know at times Kutalaba is a little bit he's not consistent, right?
Hmm.
I picked him because I looked at his past records. I knew that if this was going to be his last song, he had to get it all together, and he did. The one thing I've noticed is that Ivan's um, coaches, they were upset about it. It was like, brother, what are you doing? Like, this is what you need to do. Stop playing around. Stop doing this. Um, it's like, yeah, but tell the guy what to do. Like, tell him what to do. Tell him what to focus on. Kudalaba just had it was great. It was great seeing him like fight, and I think it was the American Top Team camp that Erslan was from, and it
Hmm.
was great, champ. Like even at the end, there was a takedown. The fight ended. Erslan he injured his knee as well
Hmm.
at the ending. So it was a good fight. I did not expect that to happen to Kudalaba. Shout out to him. Who do you give him next? Before throwing him into the top 15, champ, give him a top 20 again. Let him refine his skills
Yeah,
now that
I'll
he's
give him
more
the
composed.
15 to the 20.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, looking at the stats here, he shot for 12 takedowns. He only hit 3 of them, and he threw twice as much significant strikes. So, the experience did play out advantageous for Kutelava in this fight. So, yeah, good
yeah.
about the win. You were right. I was wrong. I would admit that.
Hey,
And let's get into the main card with this next fight. Whoo! My boy was hurt. We'll talk about that. Kicking off our main card, we have a lightweight bout. Fares Ziam versus Matt, the steamroller Fervola. Now, Ziam gutted out a TKO win with a vicious knee to Fervola's face. And, in our pre fight analysis, I mentioned that if Ziam can keep the fight standing, he does a very good job of setting up his strikes with his leg kicks and his jab, and we proved that, right? Matt couldn't get the wrestling going. He tried, but he couldn't get it going. The fight was on its feet, and Ziam just had him. Had him in the clinch. He had him from the back in the clinch, and then as Frevola spun out, he hit him with that vicious knee to the face, and that's all she wrote. What did you think of this fight? Were you expecting Frevola to get knocked out? Are you surprised?
Well, champ, I mean, listen, let's be honest. I picked for Favola. I thought, Favola was going to come in with the game plan, but the fight started, champ, and it was a little bit disconnected. You feel me? Like, so, first and foremost, great pick. Ziam looked amazing. I got to say, he looked massive against Favola. He controlled the range, kept him on the back foot. You would see Favola getting a little bit, not exhausted, but like, he desperate and throwing overhand rights and hooks, but he wouldn't do it in the distance, champ. He would do it outside of the distance. So one of the things I was thinking about is like Favola needs to embrace his inner Mike Tyson, come in with that jab, step in, and work on the inside and go for the takedown. But he didn't, champ. He landed one takedown, but the reality is, champ, I bet on Favola because of the takedowns. But your boy Ziam, champ, 4 takedowns. He took Favola down 4 times, landed 2 times what it was. And you know what, champ? Delivered, like had him, he just had him so confused, champ. And, he delivered what could be, one of the knockouts of the night. It was beautiful, beautiful placement, champ.
Yeah, it did get performance of the night. So a great win from Zion. So we'll see what happens with him in the future. Who they
You're
give him,
right,
where he
champ.
goes from there.
You were right, champ. You were right. You took that one on me.
Next up, we have a featherweight bout. Morgan Charrieri, who was a heavy favorite at -335 against the Brazilian Gabriel Miranda, who was the underdog at +400. So, when the fight started and we got into the first round, the fight was taking place a lot on the ground, right? And I was kind of worried because Gabriel's just a straight up jujitsu practitioners, right? I was like, okay, this could look a little scary, but Morgan's defense was good, and as soon as the second round started, he came out with that onslaught, right? He pushed forward and he set up his punches well, and he got the knockout victory. What did you think? Are you surprised? Did you expect the fight to go this way? Were you expecting a knockout, or were you expecting the decision? Because we had both gone for Charrieri in this fight, and proved to be right.
Yeah, and he was. What were the odds in that fight, champ? By
-535.
-550. Yeah, so it's significant, right? Like if you did this fight, you should have parlayed it. But the first round it was closer than what many kind of
Mm-hmm.
seen, right? It was close, and one of the things was I think both of us when we saw him kind of, Miranda take him down, he did land one takedown. It was like, oh, do you really want to be there with that guy? And it was at the beginning, if I'm not mistaken.
In the beginning.
But Morgan got up, landed 2 takedowns of his own, and goes back to the second round. And we're like, well, this guy doesn't look like a -550, because sometimes odds give you expectations. But champ, I got to tell you, I think 40 seconds less than that in the second round delivers a great left hook, knocks him down, pounds him out, gets the W. Great, and also great for him for defending those takedowns. Like he showed a
Mm-hmm.
lot today, champ.
Yeah. Uh, I really like Charrieri. I think he's an entertaining fighter. He's a good fighter. I want to see him kind of polish his striking a little bit. He kind of throws some wild punches, but I think with time and you really focus on that, we could see good things from him. And like he's again in the featherweight division. So you said that division looks a little thin, right? So it'd be interesting to get some good contenders up there.
Yeah, we need some.
Next up, we have a fight that I was probably the most eager to watch. Is a welterweight bout between Kevin Josset, the Frenchman, against Brian the Butcher Battle. Now, Josset was the underdog at a +145, whereas Battle was the favorite at a -166. Battle did get the KO in the second round. I think he had a great game plan. He didn't start off fast. He didn't start off pushing the pace, looking for the knockout. He kind of clinched him up, put him up against the fence, and really like lay his body on him and kind of tire him out. And one of the things we discussed when the fight was happening, I said, I have a feeling that in the second round, he's really going to push forward and start finding his range and start piecing him up. And sure enough, he came out. He hit him with with heavy volume and good precise strikes, and that's what got him the knockout. Now, Jostin did look good on the strikes. He threw significant strikes that hit Battle, but it just wasn't enough. I think the takeaway I got from this fight is that Battle, I would like to see him work on his head movement, get a boxing coach or work with his boxing coach and kind of like focus on not getting hit so much because he was just standing there in front of him and just eating those shots, eating those left hooks, eating those right hooks. So I want to see him improve on that, but it was a good win, an impressive win. I like Battle. I think he's gonna be a contender in the division. What did you think, Flip Price?
Well, I picked Kevin, right? I had Kevin
Mm-hmm.
winning, and Kevin did the it got a little bit scary in the first round for Battle, right? Because he was clinching. So you didn't know if Battle really wanted to strike with this guy because he was literally a little exchange, clinch, leaning on the fence, and that's when Kevin had his success, right? Because Kevin did. To many, it's some people say Battle won, others say Kevin won, but the reality is, I gave that round to Kevin. Kevin slammed them with the judo throw. I was like, damn, like is Battle okay? Lifted up, started precise striking, round ends, and this is where we get to see that the weaponized cardio champ and the volume. And shout out to him. He outworked Kevin. He put a pace on Kevin that Kevin really couldn't continue. And then it got to the point where the sniper just became tired. And I mean, listen, it worked. He mixed it up, right? We forget that this is not boxing or kickboxing. This is MMA. The striking probably fatigued them, those clenches, and
Mm-hmm.
Battle came prepared, champ. You're right. I do like Kevin. I think Kevin's a great fighter. Um, yeah, I mean, who does Battle get next? Maybe give him a shot at the top 15, champ.
Who knows? Who knows? And he ended the fight by giving a villainous promo. Did you think the Butcher was gonna get outstriked by a Frenchman in France? I hope he makes it out of there alive. You said like, hey, your boy's got to be careful, right? He can't hit the streets, but it was a good promo. I'm excited to see who they give him next. I want to see him, continue. Maybe somebody in the top 20, and then give him the top 15. We'll see.
Champ, you know what he came out to, right? His song. You know what he came out to? His song. That Jay-Z song in Paris. That's what the
Oh
fans. So it's just
man,
he was that was a bad man. He took a villainous approach, and you know what? Like that's the thing about it. Now those Frenchmen will probably tune in to see him to see him get finished. So he
yeah,
did
and,
great.
and nothing against Kevin. Styles make fights, right? Matchups make fights. So he just Battle was the better fighter today, and we'll see what happens with Kevin in the future. He'll bounce back. He'll bounce back from this. He's a good fighter. Next up, we have a featherweight bout. William Gomes, who was a underdog at a plus 250, gutted out a split decision win against Joanderson Brito, who was the heavy favorite at a minus 310. Now, I think one of my fears I had was Gomes was gonna really slow down the pressure of Brito. Brito came out like a bat out of hell, right? He came out, he was punching. The fight looked like it was like mid into the fight when it first started, right? But he did a good job of slowing Brito down, controlling him, having taken him down to the ground and really controlling him and slowing him down, right? Whereas Brito came back every time Brito came back to the feet, he tried to search for that knockout. He was throwing these wild right hooks, these wild left hooks, and he just wasn't connecting. And Gomes did eat a couple shots. He got wobbled at the end of the first round. I don't know if you saw that where they got up. The time it was like 20 seconds left. He hit him with a nice right hook, and then he went for the I believe the guillotine choke, but it just wasn't enough. Right, time ended. So, what did you think?
I think this was a very close contested fight, right? Like Brito should
Mm-hmm.
have stormed him, and like I said, odds give expectations. So 3-1. I was texting Connor, and I was like, bro, like Gomes looking good. And he's like, yeah, but Brito is a fiend, and I'm like, you're 100% right. But then as as we're getting closer to weigh-ins, I'm starting to see um, more training footage from Gomes, and I'm like, Gomes looks good. He looks in and out. And Chan, when the fight started, we have to admit something. This fight took place on the ground the majority of the fight. There were exchanges. Brito was throwing heavy leather. It's crazy how like that shoot to box style, relentless. I'm gonna go for your head, and like I don't care about cardio, bro. I'm gonna finish you. Was in display, but Gomes, held his ground. Um, Brito did land 3 out of 6 takedown defenses. Gomez did end up, changing the reversal a couple different times, getting into position. Split decision win. Yeah, I mean, listen, like, what could you do, champ? We can't debate here. Gomez got it done. Shout out to him. A lot of people are complaining. Was it the French power up?
Could be, man. Could be. It's arguable. A lot of people were upset online. I saw on Twitter. A lot of people saying, "Oh, Brito got robbed. Brito got robbed." But that's all she wrote. The judges' scorecards came and it was finalized, and Gomez is the winner.
Is the winner, champ. But the reality is, and here's the stats. Um, Gomez landed 11 strikes out of 8 in the second, and against Brito, and then 23 versus 12. So the strikes were the tail.
Hmm. You're not wrong. Next up, we have our co-main event middleweight bout: Nasruddin Imavov, who was a minus 205 favorite against Brendan Allen, who was a plus 170 underdog. Imavov gutted out the unanimous decision win. I think he had a solid game plan. He kept the fight standing. He did not let Allen utilize that wrestling, right? He he attempted 10 takedowns in this fight. It was only successful one time, 10% of the time. I think Imavov had a solid game plan. He looked good, and this is a ranked fight. It was number 6 versus number 4. Where do you go from here? Where do you go from? Do you give him Adesanya? Do you like that?
I mean,
Do you,
champ, first, listen, let me let it out. I mean, look, it was a good fight. Imanov did great. I got to say, the first round, Allen came in explosive. But what
Mhm.
happened to Allen after that? You feel me? Like, Allen didn't want to strike with the guy. It didn't seem like that. Allen is actually blessed with good power explosion, but he didn't utilize chance. He just wanted to take him down, and it just shows that Imavov was the better striker. I just wish he would have mixed it up a little bit more. I'm talking about Allen, champ, right? Um,
He
you
almost
know,
looked desperate too. If you
yeah,
watch like towards the end of the fight, like he was just desperately shooting for takedowns, and it just didn't look good in my opinion. The game plan, I don't know what the game plan was, but it just didn't look good in my opinion.
yeah, and look, the reality is he went what 1-10. He took him down one time, but attempted 9 straight and missed. It wasn't a good look. I don't know why he didn't mix it up. He has good kicks, good range, good length. Is Imavov the real deal? Yeah, I think he's good. He's very very good. But I wish he would have switched it up. And shout out to Imavov because the takedown defense was amazing and he was on point. And he ended up landing in the second round 23 out of 8 and then 33 out of 18. He did put him out. My only issue with Allen is just that he was complaining about the rankings and how when I win they're gonna rank me at whatever and I don't care. But it's like, brother, why don't you focus on this? Because I think he was 7 fights away. It's a 7 fight winning streak. And
Hmm.
you don't worry about the rankings. Become undeniable. Put Imavov in his place, and you get closer to that title shot. Nobody cares about the rankings. It's the title shot that matters. So shout out to Imavov. He got it down. What do you do with Allen? I think for Allen, you get. I'll speak about Allen. You give Vittori, Martin Vittori next. Those have a grudge. But
Hmm.
for Imavov, champ, I think I told you either Izzy or Kyle, your boy Kyle.
You don't think it, or you don't think the loser or the loser of Whitaker comes up?
For Imavov, oof. I mean, do that's a
There's a lot of options there. There's a lot of options there.
yeah, that's a dangerous fight for Imavov just because our boy, what do you call it? Our boy Whitaker is very good with the footwork, right? It'd be an interesting style, but what I would do, champ, I would not eliminate a contender from that division, right? Like that middleweight does need blood.
Hmm.
Imavov is a new rising star, especially from France. So yeah, you're right. Maybe the loser. It's also going to depend on timing for DDP versus Strickland.
Hmm.
But yeah, why not?
We'll see. There's a
But
lot of
Izzy, what do you do
opportunities
with
there.
Izzy, man? What do you do with Izzy and Kyle? Who do you give those?
Yeah, exactly. Or do you give Kyle the loser of that fight as well? Whitaker and Cosmo, right? Like
I mean, what was Allen? What was
I
Allen's
think he
rank?
was. I have it here. Let me look at the rankings.
Because I think that's the issue. It's I know Kyle is in between those guys. So
Because I think Kyle's number 5, right? He took Cannoneers. Let's see.
yeah. So I mean, why don't they just why don't they just pair up Cannonier and
Okay, so
Allen?
look here for the middleweight, right?
Mhm.
We have Drickus at champion, Sean Strickland number 1. Number 2's Izzy. Number 3 is Whitaker. Number 4 is Imavov. And 5 is Kyle. 6 is Vittori. 7 is Cannoneer. And 8 is Allen.
Uh, I mean,
I don't
listen.
think maybe you run Kyle and Imavov. I mean 4 and 5. That's a good fight.
Yeah, but you're risking a contender though, because those two kids, man, they fought tooth and nail. And the reality is, maybe Izzy takes some time off. Robert Whitaker and Sean, sorry, Robert Whitaker and Hamza go for the number one contender. So yeah, you know what, champ, that might be the number one contender fight.
Them two, right?
After Robert and Hamza.
I don't know, but I have a feeling that they're going to give the loser of that to one of those boys.
And I think that's the issue. So I mean, yeah, I mean, fighting 5 and 6, sorry, 4 and 5 fighting. Oof, man.
Because number 2, like if you look at Izzy, Strickland, and then you have the idea that Alex Pereira wants to come back down, right, to middleweight and fight, the winner of Sean Strickland and Duplessis. I wonder if Duplessis beats Strickland, or no, if he loses to Strickland, do you think Pereira still comes down and fights him?
No. He's not gonna fight. He's not gonna fight Strickland.
Because he won't fight Strickland, right? That's his way of training. I don't see them
Yeah.
fighting.
He has an issue with DDP just because
That's what
DDP
I'm saying. Do you think he still drops down if DDP loses the title?
no, he won't drop down. I think he pursues legacy at the top one, but
Okay.
I don't think Izzy like it's going to be interesting because I don't think you give Izzy Imavov. You don't give Izzy. You also don't give him um, Kyle as well. You don't.
Yeah,
What
it's
is he going
interesting.
to main event a pay per view with one of those guys? No, he's not. Let's be honest with each other.
And then you have the idea or the potential of Jiri dropping down too. He had teased that wanting to go to middleweight. So do you give
That's
him Jiri?
I think that's the fight to make, and that would be a great pay per view, and they would make it because it's Izzy. It's really Izzy the star power, or make it a good co-main event on the pay per view card.
Yeah,
But
Izzy and Jiri would be good. I wouldn't
two
be mad at
former
Izzy and
champions,
Jiri,
two former champions,
or Kyle and Jiri would be good too. I would like that. Well, we'll
Kyle,
see. We'll see.
Kyle and Jury. But Imavov, like we said, champ. I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Robert and Hamza, and go from there.
Yeah, I agree. Main event time. We have Renato Money Moicano, who was the underdog at plus 215 against Benoit Saint Denis, the hometown favorite at a minus 265. Moicano won via TKO doctor stoppage. This fight, I think, everybody was probably surprised at the way this fight started because if you look at Benoit Saint Denis and his performance against Dustin Poirier, you would have thought, okay, he's going to come in, he's going to push the pace, he's going to get in his face, and he's going to make this a fight. And what happened? He got taken down. He got hit with some brutal elbows, brutal ground and pounds. His right eye was swelled up, shut, cut badly in the first round, and his left eye was beginning to swell as well. And the second round starts. He lost the first round, right? We could all agree he lost the first round, 10-8, 10-9, whatever you want to, give him. Second round, he came out, started striking. He defended the takedown twice, I believe, and he looked good. You could argue that he won that round. After the second round, the doctor stepped in, checked his eyes, and he was unable to see out of his right eye. And then that's all she wrote. The fight ended. Before we get into what happened after the fight, what did you think? Were you surprised by this outcome? Were you expecting this outcome? Because we were both big on Saint Denis based on his last performance, and that's one of the things you can't do in MMA is the MMA math. But that's a perfect example of it there. But what did you think, Floor Price?
Champ, what a amazing fight from Moicano. Well, both fighters. Let's be very honest with you. This has been the second time that San Denis has received this level of beatdown and does not give up. Like, he does not fold. There was even a moment where he was hitting him, and I thought it was almost going to be,
I thought they were
doctors
gonna
like,
step in. I thought they were gonna
yeah, I thought
step
it
in
was
to stop the fight.
yeah, yes. And Denis matches will get like that when he's being dominated, which shout out to Moicano, he dominated him. And but let's face the fact, like what exactly happened that triggered that? So, one of the things, and Moicano did study him, because he does open up with a left kick. Like, he has that left kick. That wasn't random. Moicano capitalized on it. He put a lot of effort on that and took him down and dominated him, scored the 8-10. And like we said, Champ, be undeniable. And that's what Moicano was. He looked like a different demon. But Champ, heading into the second round, and this is my issue, right? Doctor should have checked in, should have checked his eyes then and there, but decides to proceed, right? Because it's just started getting bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, San Denis won the second round, just off strikes alone. Took the strikes, 21-15, stuffed all the takedowns. You did not see a single takedown after that fight, right?
Yeah,
Why? Because he was on point. He was doing good. Um, I would have loved to see a third round. There was a doctor stoppage. Doctor, went in, was it was very noticeably concerned. And we spent a while there, and he did both eyes and just called it, right? It looked like it wasn't safe for him there. Um, but Champ, shout out to Moicano. He looked great, but I didn't like how he looked in the second round. When you got Champ, when you got a guy beat that badly, what were the takedowns? What happened? So was he tired? Did he blow him? Because that was a 10-8. That was a very dominant round, Champ. He
yeah,
landed
yeah.
35.
I
What?
agree with you. I agree. I would have loved to see Moicano have that killer mentality and just go for the finish, right? Go for the finish, take him down again. It worked well for you in the first round, and just finish him off with ground and pound. I don't know what the game plan was. Maybe he was waiting for him to tire out because it was a 5 round fight. But who knows, right? The doctor stepped in and stopped the fight. Now after the fight, it was interesting. Moicano said he wants the money fights. He wants the good fights. He wants Paddy Pimblett, Paddy the Baddy. He wants Dan Hooker. He even said, Dan Hooker is like at number 5 is like a turtle in a tree. You don't know how the turtle got up there, but you can argue that it was placed, that it was placed there. So he's kind of hinting at that he doesn't deserve to be in the top 5. What do you think is next for Moicano? You think they give him either Hooker or Paddy Pimblett? Patty tweeted that, he said he's down. Let's run it. Do you like those matchups for him? What do you think?
I forgot that Patty was in the top 15, right? I was saying kind of like this is the best way for Patty to break in the top 15, but he's already in the top 15.
Let me look at the rank.
So yeah, and I think he took it from Bobby Green King.
Yeah, he's
right?
number 15. He's number 15 right now.
He's number 15, right? So I mean, look, I think I don't know why Moicano would want to fight Patty. He's it's a money fight, but like, what do you do with that fight? You give him another main event. You have those guys duke it out in a UFC fight night. It makes
Well, I think
sense.
it's momentum, right? I think Patty has the momentum right now, especially off of that win off of King Green. He kind of wants to just pad up his resume.
Yeah, but then he says, "I'm 35. I'm getting older. I probably have He's basically saying have three more fights prior to fighting for the belt." I don't think Patty gets you there. I think Patty gets you more fans, gets you that more hate. Especially, imagine they made Money Moicano and Patty in England. How amazing would that be?
Yeah,
pretty cool, right? You could even, have them next year and have Tom Aspinall fight the winner of Volkov and Gone for the undisputed belt. I think that'd be great and put them in the spotlight. But the reality champ, I mean, look, there's Gamrot there.
that's
right?
what I was just thinking right now. I think Gamrot would be a good match for him.
But the issue is they're both from top team, right? American top team. So they're in a position in that division where Dustin Poirier is there, Thiago Moises is there, Gamrot is there, where they're going to be like, well, you know what? Unless I need to fight him, give me somebody else. But I think now Moicano moves up to 10. You bump Max Holloway down. You have to bump him down. I'm sorry, champ. Bad MFer, fighting for
Yeah.
the featherweight inactivity. But why not give him Beneil Dariush? I think that's a great fight for Moicano. Have him fight closer to the top five.
And when was Darius' last fight?
It was against Charles Oliveira. This was way before because Charles fought at 300, and then
He
prior
fought
to that,
Sarukian at 300.
yeah, but it was prior to that. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's prior to that, so it's been a while. He hasn't really been active. Let me look exactly when that fight was, but I think that's the fight. Yeah. So it was at around. Oh no, so he fought in 2023. So June of 2023, that's when he lost to Oliveira, but then he fought Arman in December 2020. So that's the thing. Beneil has been active, so I think it would make sense for Moicano to kind of climb the ranks a little bit better. Fight so at number 10, fight the number 7 guy, and then what do you do with number 7? It opens up, right? Like Dan Hooker. I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you, brother. If I'm Dan Hooker, why would I fight? Why would I want to fight Moicano? He's number 10.
Exactly.
Why would I want to fight it? Right?
Yeah, that was an interesting call out. That's what I'm saying. We mentioned that Moicano is he's getting older. He only has 3 fights. So why would he call out the number 5 guy if he doesn't have intentions to move up? You think he wants to make a title push?
It makes sense because if you look at the killers in that division, I think Hooker would struggle with the takedown. Right? You saw what we saw what Islam did to Hooker, and
Yeah.
no, like so. Let's be honest with you. And also Hooker wasn't in the top 5. The reason why Hooker's in the top 5 is because of Gamrot.
Yeah,
He
he
took
beat him.
Gamrot. Yeah, and it's funny because even Gamrot's like, why don't you give me a rematch, brother? Hooker's not giving you that rematch. Hooker is in a position where, man, that top 5 feels so juicy, and now he's baiting Dustin Poirier to come and tangle with him. Because listen, if Hooker beats Dustin, I mean, dude, he's right there for a title shot. What you got, Gaethje? You got
I don't
Oliveira.
think. I think Hooker is waiting for the outcome of Topuria and Holloway, and I think he wants to go for the bad MFer title. I think he has a case, right, in his fight against Gamrot. What do you think?
That's an interesting one because that would put Holloway closer to top 5, which
Mm-hmm.
if he beats him, he can kind of go for the lightweight belt. But I mean, yeah, you could do that too, right? And you can see how that kind of plays along. But I'm saying for Dan Hooker, DP's there. He's considering the idea.
Mm-hmm.
For Moicano, I think Beneil's a great fit. Now for Benoit Saint Denis, he's gonna have to take a year off. Gonna have to take a year off, heal. That was a lot of blows. I would want to see him back next year in France. But that's a good fight, champ. Holloway versus Hooker.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but Moicano, I mean, listen, if Moicano could have it his way, fight Hooker or fight Pimblin. But if not, fight Dariush. He's number 7. Take that 7 spot, move into 6, and then, I mean, brother, that top 5 is you don't want that. Or
Yeah,
maybe
those guys. Not for Moicano. I don't think Moicano wants to fight any of those top 5 cats, man.
well, bro, it's like if even it's Chandler 6, if you get Chandler's fighting Oliveira, so like if I'm Moicano and I beat Dariush, if that fight is placed, I challenge the winner of Oliveira and Chandler because that would then guarantee you the next title shot. Let's be honest
Mm-hmm.
here. Yeah, I think that'd be a good fight.
The winner or the loser, right? We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of storylines that could take place. It's all dependent on these next few pay-per-views. What happens, in my opinion. We'll see.
It's
We'll
good.
see. Yeah. Before we wrap it up here, I just want to say that kind of I want to reiterate that the card in its totality was great. Right. We had 14 fights. The French audience was great. They were there from the start to finish. They were lively. They were active. They were chanting. You know, I want to see the UFC kind of venture out to these other countries more, right? It's good to see the fight fans expand and see them, really enjoy the company and MMA in its entirety. What did you think?
I think you're right, champ. I think the level of energy, like You know, listen, Canadians and Americans, and you know this, like Americans in general, have a tendency when there's a prelim fight, that arena is not full. Let's be honest. But in France, it was packed to the gills, champ, and it's cool because it puts respects on fighters, and it gets prelim fighters prepared to go to those main event cards, those fight cards, right? So shout out to the French crowd, very educated as well, champ.
Mhm.
Very when their guy would lose, they would show respect. Everybody except Battle, champ. Battle is the exception right now.
Well,
Right now,
Moicano as well. Moicano said, "I love the people, but f the government."
well, they went after the
Yeah,
government. That's they're gonna
it's
they're
like
gonna
Sean Strickland, right? It's like Sean Strickland in Canada, man.
yeah. Canadians love him, bro. I don't know what it is, bro. He was trashing us, bro, and the Canadians just love him.
Mhm.
But yeah, good fight, good night. Always a pleasure, champ. This is a great UFC fight card.
There we have it, the full UFC Fight Night Moicano versus Benoit Saint Denis reaction, analysis, breakdown. We did pretty well. We have here our success. We hit roughly around 70%, both of us. We disagree on a couple, but that's fine. We have our reasons. We talk about it and we don't take it personal. But listen, I want you guys to like, subscribe, comment, support, follow us on socials, follow us on X. Show some love, show some support. We have a lot of good things coming up. We have fighter interview. We will reveal, I'm sorry, later on in the week. I'm excited for that. Floor price guy, I know you're excited as well. We also dropped previously our interview with Mando Gutierrez, who was successful in his jiu-jitsu match. I don't know if you saw that. I saw highlights of the match. He won via decision. He's the champ in that organization. So shout out to Mando Torres. We had him on last week.
Gutierrez,
We will
Gutierrez.
be back next week with the UFC 307 fight card prediction, breakdown, analysis, picks, whatever you want. Pereira versus Rountree. That's gonna be a good fight. Someone's gonna go to sleep. I think. Who's it gonna be? Tune in and find out. Floor price guy. Any parting words, my man?
Now take us out of here, champ. Subscribe, like, go check out the interview. See you next week.
See you not next week. Peace out.